Welcome to A Better HR Business, the podcast that looks at how HR consultants and HR tech firms grow their businesses and how they help their employers to get the best out of their people. Remember, for show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Okay, let's get started.
Hello, thanks for joining me again. Great to have you along. And I'm really looking forward to today's conversation with Brandy Burch. Brandy is a fascinating person. She's the founder and CEO of a very cool business called Benefitbay. And Benefitbay leverages a new modern approach to healthcare called ICHRA to allow employees to purchase individual health plans while maintaining the tax advantages of a group insurance policy. I'm keen to get into this and learn about the growth of the business. But firstly, Brandy, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Kansas City on the Missouri side. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Yeah. I was watching the quarterback show. Great show. But your team is remote, is that right?
My team is remote. Yes, yeah. We're fully remote, and we're located in 18 different states across the U.S.
Wow. Nicely done. Yeah. Nicely done. So, I want to get into Benefitbay, but do you want to set things up for us as to your background? Because you don't necessarily come from an HR or HR tech background. You're more from the financial management side of things, which is interesting and probably better for creating a business proposition that matches the needs of people, I think. So, do you want to just set us up and then we'll get into why you created Benefitbay?
Yeah. My background's in accounting, and I really took a traditional route out of school, staff accountant through controller. And when I went back to get my master's degree, I focused a bit on that HR piece. And it was because in the smaller businesses or medium-sized businesses, I often had an HR component or managed benefits or something that touched performance management. And HR was always the piece that was in that gray area of financial leadership and operating that helped me be successful or pull from that toolkit. And so it wasn't until 2015 that I really had formal HR training. And then I took my SHRM certifications. But what led me to be in the HR tech space was really that passion for benefits and individuals making choice. And then combining my financial leadership hat and acumen there for speed to quote and financial pieces of the fintech side of individual payments, but exposing them on a group channel for the employer, because we know everyone wants to look at the overall population and not drowned by administration, right? Yeah. So when you have a moving team, you could drown in administration if you don't have the right tools.
Absolutely, definitely. As you're describing that move from the finance to incorporating some of the HR learnings in your studies, I had a little flashback to when I was involved in a business turnaround project, and I set up a program where we went around training the leaders and the supervisors in this business. I would look after the HR side, the management and process control sort of stuff. And then I had the CFO coming in and we were educating them on P&Ls and cost management because money was just pouring through this business. Didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Teaming up, it was great to get the yin and yang or something. I'm not sure how you'd phrase it, but it's a great combination to have. So it was smart that you did that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the differentiator amongst great CFOs and COOs is that they understand that human capital piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Benefitbay, tell us more about the product and who it serves.
Yeah, the product is really servicing brokers, employers, and their benefits eligible employees. It's focused around individual coverage health reimbursement arrangements, which are known as ICHRA. And that really brings defined contribution to the market, allowing employers to set a defined bucket of dollars that's fair and equitable, that meets a certain level of compliance regulation for benefits. It is an ERISA capable benefit. So you have all of those additional compliance items, 1095 reporting and PCORI fees. So we solve all of that difficulty for an employer, but we also give a broker a speed to market quoting capability tools so that they can use it as their sales CRM. We want to make sure that ICHRA is quoted at every table or every renewal conversation, because it could save the employees and the employer money while bringing individual choice. So we want to make sure that quote is on every table when they look at their benefits each year.
Got it. So how could it help them save money?
Helps them save money because when you price an individual's health insurance based on their age and their zip code, and you don't expose a broad network or a broad diverse population to have to fit in one box, then a carrier is not having to say, how do I price the risk of all 50 US states with all varying networks, with all varying ages? with different demographics and socioeconomic statuses. And so traditionally, they're underwriting a higher price when people are located all over the United States. When you go into individual coverage, you have purchasing power within your geographic region, which unlocks additional carriers. We know in the US, there's more narrow networks like Kaiser Permanente or Geisinger or Connecticut that may matter in those locations to the humans seated there. But if you're seated in Massachusetts, you can't use one of those products. So you need to be able to shop where your buying power is. It allows you to unlock a more favorably cost program for you and your family. What employers have had to do, though, is find something that will cover everyone, even if it didn't fit the nuances or allow access to care in specific areas. They had to do that. And so it priced them more expensive. In addition, in individual coverage health reimbursement arrangements, Medicare eligible go to Medicare, and then they're able to unlock additional products around supplemental cases of products to have a really premium product, but not drive the cost up for a 28-year-old on a program because they're 65. Right. So it's really about aggregating risk, and the risk becomes more tolerable in an individual product. And so the pricing is least expensive.
And so your company, a large employer, can go via the broker or direct, is that right?
So a lot of my competitors do direct. We are specifically a go-to-market through the broker channel. We believe the broker should be evaluating that entire employer population against self-insurance, against individual coverage, health reimbursement arrangements, against other products that could matter to them. And in addition, we want them evaluating the ancillary products year after year. And so we're not really in the consulting business. We're more in the technical healthcare tech, fintech side of the business, and we help support the broker. There are competitors that do go direct to employer, however.
So then does that mean you can connect in the back end of other software programs, or is that something that's in the roadmap? Is that?
Yeah, we do have one-to-many with the majority of the HRIS systems that are out there and the payroll systems. There's a few once in a while that we don't have that we come across in the sales cycle, but we do have the majority of those for the back end and the front end. We know that HR's got a lot of challenges. They're dealing with large moving populations, and so they're bringing on ads and terms from a recruiting platform. They don't want to go in and then have to enter something in Benefitbay. So we have that front end capabilities, and then on the back end, we have the capability to write back to payroll.
And then in terms of getting the word out there about the business, you're mainly going through the brokers then, so it's a pretty crowded market. They're going to be pitched ideas all the time for different approaches, benefits, etc. What's your approach, A, to get in front of them, and B, to get your message through that Benefitbay is the way to go?
Yeah, we really lean on that financial and benefit acumen. And so as a team, we weren't technology startup founders. We were people who had serviced this space or sat in the buying side of this space. So I think what we lean on is our relationships. I've purchased from brokers my entire career as an operator. And then additionally, some of our team has came from other technical platforms that were servicing large ancillary carriers, large medical carriers, or that we're servicing brokers through quoting tools for group benefits. And so what we've done is brought together a group of experts, built a really good program that for the ecosystem services it really well. And I think that that's where we differentiate. A lot of people have came in and said, look, I'm going to disrupt the broker. I'm going to knock them out. I'm going to come in and steal their business. I'm going to build a relationship with the employer, and I'm going to deploy these individual products. They didn't solve for all the ancillary products. They didn't solve for the integrations. They actually create a lot of administrative lift for that employer. And the employer quickly realizes the value of their broker and goes back. So what we do is we really focus on being that partner of the broker. We focus on knowing that ICHRA doesn't fit at every table. So how do we help you ensure that you're reviewing it? And when it does, you're bringing it to the conversation. And how do we do that quickly so that we don't drown a broker firm in administration? So that's where we build our value. And I think that that's what's allowed us to differentiate in the market. It hasn't been tough to navigate brokers for us. I think because there is a solution they need, and quoting individual products is impossible outside of a tool set. Yeah. It's a slow spreadsheet. You've got to request a quote, wait for it to come back to you. And then if your client changes their mind, you've got to say, pivot the quote. Again. Yeah, they don't want to do that. So having that tool in the front has allowed us to really get to the table.
Nice. And then in terms of practical ways of getting in touch with them? Is it just straight up business development, sending them messages and LinkedIn things, or is it ads? How are you doing that?
Yeah, we haven't had a large budget to be Google adding or out there really with business development reps. So what we have done is we've concentrated on thought leadership in the market. So educating brokers on what ICHRA is, where it sits at the table, and then having a conversation with them after that talk. We do the same thing with employers, and we encourage them to ask their broker about ICHRA. And that's how we're nurturing the overall ecosystem. Sales is not something that I ever did in my past. And I like to more build the relationship rather than try to just offer them, gift cards and try to get a demo. We just don't see our value there. Our value is in thought leadership, and our value is in helping them consult their client.
Yeah.
And so as we help them do that or talk about cases live or demonstrate real examples, that's allowed us to make that sale happen fairly organically. And that's the way Benefitbay has grown.
And what kind of thought leadership have you been doing? Is that speeches, written stuff? How have you delivered that?
We've been doing CFO leadership councils. We've been doing HR, either local chapters or larger chapters. We've been doing National Association of Brokers for individual products. We've been educating those various channels by what can and can't happen, and fairly agnostically. We don't have a loyalty to any channel. We just want to get out there, spread the news. This is a new regulation that passed in 2020. We want to get rid of all the misnomers, right? And the things and the rumors that people hear, and help them to understand where it really fits and where it doesn't, and give them some of that data so that they can then think about Benefitbay in the future. Like, they didn't try to sell to me, they didn't drive me crazy, but I do have this case I want to go talk to them about. And that's how we've nurtured the market.
Oh, that's handy. Yeah. So for other businesses in other fields where there isn't necessarily change or new legislation, it's sometimes hard to work some sort of angle, but where there are new regulations in place, it's, look, you got to do it. So
yeah. And there's a lot of benefits and compliance executives at companies that want to stay on the top of this information. So going and leading one of those sessions immediately gets your brand out there and gets name awareness. And that's what we've done.
I'll leave the marketing bit in a second, but curious to ask you, as a former accountant, CFO, those types of roles, now that you're a CEO, how do you manage or measure your marketing efforts and your business growth efforts? Do you have a dashboard you use? Do you report on things differently that maybe an HR person would do it in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, we do look at leads and prospects, and we do try to calculate a return on investment of a specific program. So if a referral says, I saw you speak at SHRM, we'll track it back to that.
We'll log it.
More, we do track our actual brokers and how well they're doing from the moment they sell with us, because we want to know, where is our value? Do we actually deliver value? Are they able to gain market share? And so I don't know, if someone wasn't a finance person, they may not be looking at their expansion revenue numbers as detailed as I do, because I want to know that broker becomes our sales channel. And I want to know, how well are they doing selling in the market? How well is our platform helping them win these cases? And I also want to know if they ever get disrupted, right? If they've lost the broker of record to someone else, like, how did that happen? So I'm more researching, how great of a partner are we being to the broker? And I think we really differentiate there, because most of our competitors will play in both lanes. They don't pick a lane. They'll service a broker sometimes. They'll go direct to employer sometimes. They'll cut the broker out sometimes. So we stay really tried and true that the broker is our sales arm, and we want their tools to help them do business, and we want them to do business transparently. So we want that employer to know how much this costs them, how much the other plan would cost them, who's getting paid what dollars, where are they flowing to? And so I'm always really excited about that. I'm excited about the customer staying with the brokers for a long period of time, because that means Benefitbay is doing a great job servicing both the broker and the employer. So those are the stats I look at, because if we're doing a great job as a business, we're going to get referred. And referral business comes a lot faster than trying to go out there and pound the pavement.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's so much gold in that answer. Thank you for that, Brandy. So for people listening to this, it's about tracking your numbers, but also following those numbers through, not just on activities like leads or demos or things like that, but through to the actual return on investment, whether that's revenue generated. And also over time, I'm guessing that you'll start to see a picture form that some brokers will bring in lots more small a fish, let's say, and then the others may take time, but then they land a whale, but you don't know that until you've been running that for a time. And then you also mentioned something that was very interesting, that was not just who's doing well and who's not doing well, but how can you help them? How can you support them better, whether that's more information or resources or training? So that's a really great lesson for people to take away, and not just measure your 80-20, who's bringing in the big bucks, but how can you help the others improve and scale? Would that be a fair summary?
Yeah, that's a fair summary. We care about our brokers succeeding in the market. And we care about them not being underseated from someone else. So we want to make sure that they have the tools they needed, and that we're doing a great job, and that we're servicing it well. And I think that is the other differentiator we actually service. A lot of our technology providers in this space are just a SaaS program, and a SaaS program is not allowed to have customer success people helping you be successful, or support people answering the phones. I mean, we have actual phone numbers in our signatures, and you can call a human. Sure, you can chat and you can look at articles in a true SaaS model, but we're also here servicing this business because it's the only way it's going to be a great experience in the market, and it's going to continue to adopt. So unfavorable topic for a finance person to say, but I believe in service, and I believe in servicing well, so that it's much harder to go get a new customer than to service the one you already have.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's another key nugget that a lot of people miss out on, because they've got the luxury of a lot of money to market in the market and just to gobble up market share. They may not retain it though, but they'll hit the next metric to get the next big check. It's something that sustains for a year or two, but it's not sustainable long-term, because it's a churn and burn type of model.
Yeah, it's really good advice. So avoid the shiny object syndrome of, let's go get more customers and clients without necessarily looking after the ones we've got. I remember a business director saying, look, if we just stopped bringing in new customers and just looked after the ones we've got better, we'd be making way more money, much more profitable. So it can be
I've
very
been
effective.
a CFO in a company that I was brought into to evaluate, and they were putting on a ton of new customers, but they were leaking so many customers and churn on the back end. So they really weren't growing year over year. And that's really, if you're in a not very big market or industry, it's not sustainable. You will literally hit a wall, right? If you can show them the numbers of what you're losing out the back end, what you're gaining on the front end, you will eventually just churn the market, right? And people aren't going to come back.
Yeah, the reputational damage.
The lesson, focus on fixing whatever's broken before you continue to grow on. And I think it's probably been the most disheartening thing in our industry. We take over a lot of competitors' groups. They've not been serviced well. The employers have made the courageous decision to go to individual coverage and allow their humans to choose. And then their humans haven't been taken care of. And that's not something I want our industry doing. And I want to call to action for everyone to get better, because we're not going to get to the market change that we want to improve U.S. healthcare with choice if we're doing it bad. So if we're doing it poorly, or if employers are having to switch vendors, and all of that is painful, right? I'd rather take a new customer than take one that's been unhappy in this market and having to turn that reputation around. We do it. It's just a lot heavier lift and a lack of trust from that customer the moment they come in, because they've had a bad experience. So I think that in a lot of industries, we see this happen, right? There's all these startups, all this money, and people just throw something together and turn it live. And then there's all the fallout that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's got to be done properly. And a rising tide lifts all boats. So if everyone's doing things the right way, it helps everyone.
So long as we're all rising it and we're not, our boats don't have holes in them. And
fix those leaky holes, exactly. Brandy, Benefitbay sounds amazing, and you're doing such a great job. So thank you very much for sharing the story. If people want to learn with you, if they're a broker themselves or a consultant or an employer and they want to learn more, what should they do next?
Yeah, they should really go to sales@benefitbay.com if they want to learn more as a broker. If they're an employer and just want to have some education around what does individual choice look like, what are some case studies, just hit benefitbay.com as a website. If you want to learn more about me, I'm, a female CEO who does things non-traditionally. I've came up the ranks non-traditionally. Just follow me on LinkedIn, Brandy Burch, Burch. And I think we will improve U.S. healthcare. It's going to be a slow turn. It's a cruise ship. It's not going to turn on a dime, but we are going to improve it with choice and with consumer decisions.
Good for you, and amazing job you've done so far. So all the best for you and the business in the future.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today on A Better HR Business, the podcast that explores the world of HR consulting and HR tech businesses. For show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Remember to subscribe and share the show with any friends who are busy growing a HR business. Thanks, and see you next time.